that baby was born whilst the man was trapped in the mine?
Yeah.
Did you say? Yeah. So this is your work, isn't it, from last time?
Yes.
And we're going to look at this challenge task now. Yeah. So your task is going to be write a short diary extract of Louis Azua's last day in the mine. Now, can you remember who Louis Azua was?
Yes.
Who was Louis Azua?
He was a man that got stuck in the mine, and he was the person that he got the flag, and when he got out, and
yes. Excellent. Give me a second, let me upload it. Extra. Was he the one whose daughter was born? Was that him?
No, that was someone else.
Is that not him? I thought that was him. You remember it better than I do. I thought it was him who was Louis. Let's make sure. Let's get the extract back up. So you're going to do a short diary entry based on this person's last day in the mine. Yeah. Now, what you want to be doing in a second, let me get to the right page. It's this one. Let's have a look. Sorry. This is well done you for remembering better than me. So Louis Azura was the leader of the trapped miners. Yeah. So he's the one who was in charge, he was kind of in charge of when he was, he was their kind of leader in the job that they did. So then he became almost like the leader in the kind of trapped situation, because they would have needed somebody to kind of not lead them, but kind of decide things, and maybe be the person who makes decisions for them as a group. I imagine they probably voted, but there's always it's rare that you have a group of people and you don't have one person who takes charge a little bit, especially when there's 33 people in the mine. Okay, so well done for remembering. I thought it was the man whose baby was born whose diary entry we're going to do. But, okay, so what I want you to think about when you do, what is a diary for a start?
It is something that you write, and it's about your life, and
Yeah, you are right. So let me jot this down. So a diary is something. Oh, hang on a second. You write about, and it's about your life. Yeah. In your diary, normally, does anyone else read a diary entry of yours?
No.
So it's personal to you, isn't it? So what kind of things might you talk about in a diary that you might not necessarily tell other people every day?
When the man was, when it was when you were in your hard situation,
mm-hmm.
and when you was facing your worst, when the man was, and what he was eating, and how he could say if he liked the food or not.
Yeah. What about your feelings? Do people kind of talk about their feelings in diaries?
Yeah,
I think that's the most important thing that you would get in a diary. You might talk about what you've done.
Yeah, the man could have said he was scared, and he was feeling very weak and hot because there was a lack of food, because they only ate tuna every day, nothing else, and they didn't have water, only milk.
That was at the start, wasn't it, when they were first trapped? Yeah. Once they were trapped for, I think it was about 2 weeks without any water or food, and that's when they had the tuna and the milk. And then once they were they weren't rescued, but once they found them, if you look, it says that they sent some bits of food down, didn't they? Food packages were sent to them down the small boreholes. So after the first bit, they did get some more food and things like that. But what I'm going to do is make it slightly different, because I don't think there's very much to write about just on that last day. So what I'm going to get you to do is I want you to write me 3 days worth of diary entry. Now, you're going to write, let me put the task up on the board. You're going to write 3 days worth of diary entry. So you can imagine that you are this man in the cave, in the mine, and you are going to be writing your diary probably every day, because there's not a lot else to do in the mine, is there, I imagine, because you've got nothing else to do. So you're going to write 3 days worth of diary entry. Your first day of diary entry is going to be on, let me give you a date. It's going to be on the August the 20th. So that's going to, what was happening? You tell me, what was happening on August the 20th?
They all gave up hope, and they didn't believe that they would be rescued.
Yes, that is right. So that was in the period, August 20th, was in the period when they were trapped, but they hadn't been found, had they? But hadn't been found. So they were feeling quite hopeless. They were feeling I imagine, quite sad and scared, because they'd been trapped there, but hadn't been found. Sorry, I'm just finishing off that bit of sentence so I can talk to you a bit more. So they would have been trapped there from the 5th to the 20th is 15 days. So they've been trapped for 2 weeks, but they hadn't been found yet. So for that day's entry, I want you to imagine how they must have been feeling, and how he must have been feeling after being stuck in a mine for 2 weeks, but they'd not heard anything from the outside world. So they had no idea if they were going to be rescued, how close they would be to rescued. Imagine after 2 weeks without, like you say, without much air. Imagine how hot it is. Imagine after 2 weeks without a lot of food and without a lot of water. So that's what you're going to be imagining in your first day of your diary entry for this man.
I have a quick question.
Okay, carry on.
So you know when I start
Yeah.
each day's 3, should I just, for the paragraph, should I name it day 1, day 2, and day 3?
I would do the date.
Okay.
So I would do August 20th and then do paragraph for that. Then August, whatever we're going to do, and do the paragraph for that, and then the date for the third one. So your third date is going to be, let's say, the 10th of September. So what was happening, Hannah, let me just write the 10th of September down for you on here. 10th, September 10th. So let's go back to the extract. What was happening in the extract on September the 10th?
September the 10th. August.
Were they still trapped?
October. Yes. Yes, they were still trapped.
Yes, so they were still trapped. Had they been found by then?
Yes.
Yes, so they probably felt quite different then, didn't they? Because they wouldn't have been I bet it was still scary because they were still trapped, but they were just waiting, weren't they? They were waiting and waiting and waiting to be rescued. They're probably getting quite bored, do you think? Do you think you'd get bored if you were stuck in, because at that point, they'd been underground for over a month waiting. So they're probably feeling quite bored because they're having to spend all the time underground, but also maybe a bit anxious because they're still trapped. But they'd probably be doing okay, wouldn't they? Because they're having food sent to them. What else did they put down there to entertain them?
And the TV.
Yeah, so they had the TV, so they could watch films. They could probably communicate with their loved ones sometimes. So there was some contact with the outside world. And they also knew what was happening on the surface. What did they know was happening on the surface at this point?
People were trying to get them out.
Yes. So your diary entry there might be a little bit scared still, a little bit anxious, but also maybe you would talk about things that are happening and how you've kind of just waiting, but you know people are trying to rescue you, things like that. So that's going to be your second day of diary entry. So let's just jot down generally September the 10th. So you've been discovered but not rescued yet. Okay, so that's going to be your second day of diary entry. And then your third day is going to be the day that you're going to be rescued, just as you are waiting to be rescued, I would say. So October the 13th is going to be your final one. So how do you think this man is feeling on the day that they're being rescued? How do you think, what kind of feelings would be going through his mind and people's minds?
He's gained hope and he's excited and he's relieved.
Yes. Well, hopeful that it works, because it still might not work, mightn't it? Something could go wrong. Hopeful that everybody gets out safely and things like that. But also relief that it's almost over. And obviously excitement at what, being reunited with their friends and family, probably being able to eat some more interesting food than the bits of food that were sent down to them, getting back to normality a little bit. So October the 13th, so let's put day of rescue. So we're talking you're going to be writing as you are waiting to be rescued. So you're still down the mine, but you're waiting to be rescued. You know that that's the day, but you haven't been rescued yet. So for each one, yes, you'll do the date and then you'll do the writing underneath of your diary entry. Each one is absolutely fine being a paragraph. If it's more than one paragraph, that's fine. But one paragraph is absolutely fine for each day. And you're going to end up writing me 3 paragraphs. If you're writing a diary entry and it's personal to you, or you're pretending to be this man, what narrative, and you might not have heard this term before, what narrative perspective is it told from? Do you use the word I a lot in it?
Yeah. First person.
Pardon?
First person.
Yes, so you're using first person. So if I ever say narrative perspective, that means whether it's in first, second, or third person. You're going to write in first person because you're the one, or the person you're pretending to be is experiencing it. Will it be written in the past tense or the present tense?
Present.
Yeah, you could write it in the present tense. We've been doing this. That would be past tense. If you're writing at the end, you could write it in present or past. If you're writing at the end of the day, you might write it in past tense.